My understanding of healthy now is way different than back then. That's for sure.
Yeah, his understanding of lots of things is different. Go figure.
I feel like all my meals used to look like post-workout meals. And the reason they did is because actually post-workout meals are probably the cheapest meal of your whole day.
Yeah,
like
I was
carbohydrates
thinking,
are so cheap.
If you're saying, man, listen, I got a lot of bills. I just can't afford that bag of generic white, mass-produced, almost free dextrose powder that Amazon will have right on my front door like 2 hours from now. You can't. There's no real good excuse why you can't eat better after you work out.
Ground beef and potatoes. That's your meal.
Yeah, I can't afford rice.
That's as cheap as it gets.
The thing they throw out of helicopters over Somalia. You can't afford that. You can go to Dartmouth. You can't afford rice and fucking dextrose and a good protein pack. Get the fuck out of here. You have one iPhone for work, one for all your personal porn usage when you're shitting in the morning. You got money for some dextrose powder, homie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say.
We'll keep everything we just said a secret. That way they don't know.
Welcome to Barbell Shrugged. I'm Mike Bledsoe, standing here with Doug Larson, Chris Moore, CTP behind the camera. We got Charlotte behind the other camera. Wow.
Multiple cameras.
Oh, we've arrived.
Finally.
Today we're going to be talking about post-workout nutrition. And
I've been waiting so long.
We're going to cover the food, the different types of workouts that you're doing, and the different types of nutrition you might need afterwards.
The mistakes you're probably making. Or
all
could
the
be
mistakes
making.
you're making. We're going to cover all of them. Let you know how dumb you are. No, we're not going to do that. So we're going to cover all that. Before we go any further, go to barbellshrug.com, sign up for the newsletter.
What if they're already on barbellshrug.com?
If you're already on barbellshrug.com, you should. What link should they click?
All of them. Test them out. See which one's your favorite.
Yeah. There's all sorts of stuff you can click on there. All kinds of knowledge. There's stuff for ebooks. There's stuff for recipes and
New
whatnot.
article every day. Is that
depends
right?
on what you want. It's there.
Yeah, whatever you want. Yeah, there's something for everybody.
Search.
Not
search.
really.
If you don't know, just use a little search window.
It's not for everybody. It's only for you. I promise.
If you type in clown penis in a search box, something different will happen. We installed an Easter egg on the side.
We now got to create like a page. The clown penis page. All right, before we lose all of our audience, we want to talk about post-workout nutrition today. Mainly because, like, I'll post, this isn't mainly, but this is why I think we should talk about it. I'll post, like, my post-workout meal to Instagram or something like that, and people are like, oh, sweet, and then they post theirs and then tag me back in it, and I'm like,
what is that?
I'm like, that looks like about a third of what I've been eating.
So what I would
they're
feed
like, I'm on the Gainz train. I'm like, no, you're not.
It's what you would feed a fussy 3-year-old.
Right.
Like, it's macaroni and cheese. I've got my
You're on the Gainz
2%
short
milk.
bus.
Yeah, so, like, it's either not big enough or they...
Story of your life.
I'm looking at it. Yeah, it happens a lot. It's not big enough or, like, it just has the wrong stuff on the plate. They're like, gonna totally recover. I'm like, what? What are you recovering from?
Does anyone say
they're
that?
missing a big opportunity. It's the most important meal out of probably all the meals you're going to eat the whole day, and you have basically full permission, especially if you're gaining weight, to just fucking go off the rails and just eat whatever the hell you want. And people don't do it for some reason.
The window of Gainz.
The window of Gainz.
Once that closes, it's all over.
Yeah. You missed the window of Gainz. You screwed up, man.
I don't want to be that guy.
Don't be that guy, because you might as well just start the day over. Just go take a shit, jump in the shower.
It's probably the most important thing you do, and it's the first thing that you overlook as you rush out of the gym to go do whatever else you had planned for the day.
Yeah. So, so we kind of covered, usually they're not big enough, or they just have the wrong stuff on there. And then there's a certain amount of protein, carbs, and fat you're looking for. Probably not so much fat. What else?
You want to eat like a big bowl of country gravy after you train?
And nope. and while you're consuming your post-workout meal, you need to be dancing. That's how you know if you're doing it right. That's how you know you're doing it right.
Daft Punk.
How do you know what your plate should look like, Mike? You look at all these terrible meals on Instagram. What should it look like?
It should be a lot fuller.
Like I'm one of the typical jerks that has a empty, fat, heavy plate. Because, again, I like my sawmill country gravy maybe after I do my heavy deadlifts. What should be on there?
Mostly carbs and protein. It needs to be this. Like Doug was just saying, like it's your opportunity to eat as much as you want, probably. Especially if you're trying to get big. Like don't worry. This is not the meal that's going to make you fat. I promise. If you want to eat a ton of carbs, this is the time to do it. And the type of carbs you want to have is probably like rice, oats, quinoa, potatoes, all that kind of stuff. Ice cream. You know what? It is one way of going about it, but it's not.
I would go
it's not
post.
like,
That's after your post-workout meal.
yeah, I would.
That's the dessert to your post-workout
that's
meal.
not-
It shouldn't be your meal.
That's not an ideal way to recover.
And
So
only if you're trying to gain as much weight as possible.
as much weight as
Although a
possible.
little
But actually, that's a
asterisk-
good opportunity for people that are trying to lose weight too. It's your opportunity to actually eat some carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Like if you're super low carb most of the day, eating borderline paleo meals where you're eating meat and veggies and a few nuts and seeds and whatever, mostly protein and fat, and you're going to eat some carbohydrates. This is your opportunity. Post-workout is the best time to eat those carbs because you're going to actually take the carbs, put them in your muscles, and you're not going to convert them to body fat. You're not going to get fat at all off those carbs. It's only going to give you more energy and help you get stronger and build muscle mass.
So if you're ever going to be
or
not
keep the muscle
afraid-
mass you already have as you lose weight.
If there's ever a time to not be afraid of getting fat, this is the one time where that definitely doesn't have to be on the table for you.
Yeah.
You're going to utilize it for greater good.
And real
Yeah.
quick, I've cut carbs out of my diet for post-workout before, just as an experiment. It's like one of those things like all the literature says, eat carbs post-workout. And I was like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play around with this paleo thing. For about 30 days, I cut out all that stuff, stopped doing the post-workout shakes. And I was like, oh, I think I feel fine. I didn't really notice much of a difference. And then when I added it back in, I was like, holy shit, I feel amazing. So it's one of those things like over time you may not notice the effects of it because it's like slowly you're just getting less and less recovered, and you may not pick up on it.
It's kind of like
as soon
sleep.
as you-
It's like
yeah.
sleep, right? Some people think they have 6 hours of sleep. They go, well, I feel fine on 6.
Exactly.
I know some people say 8, but I swear I feel better on 6. Then when you try 8, then you see the difference.
Yeah.
Now, what about, you just mentioned a good point, but if I'm trying to lose fat, do I still maybe try to go less carb after I lift weights? Just because I think this is now the time to ask that.
It does differ. Different types of people, I think, respond a little bit differently, but I think it's still a great time to do carbs right afterwards for a few different reasons. But we can go in the science of that. But you did ask earlier, I didn't finish it. It was like, what should your plate look like? It's like half protein, half carbs.
I think that's the easiest way to think about it.
Yeah.
Like if you just cut your plate down the middle and put meat on one side and some type of starchy, dense carbohydrates on the other side, like Mike said, like oats or rice or potatoes or what have you, that's the easiest way in my mind to know you're doing it right. Okay. In addition to dancing,
We'll be dancing.
meat on one side, carbs on the other
Will
side.
you also be going, oh, God, this is a lot of food? Will that also be the way you know you're doing it right? If it
Yeah, I
seems
mean-
like too much food for you, because you're probably under eating. That's one of the big problems.
You gotta, if you don't feel really tired after you eat, you probably didn't do it right. Yeah.
This is all said in the context of your whole day. Like this is one meal out of your whole day. So if I say half meat, half dense carbohydrates, starchy, carbohydrates like I just said, then we're thinking about that one meal in the context of the rest of the day. So that means that the other meals you are eating healthy fats and you are getting fiber and whatnot through meat and vegetables and antioxidants and all the other good things that you get from fresh vegetables and fruits and whatnot. So this one meal, if you're looking at it and you're going, whoa, I don't want to like just eat protein and carbs, like what about healthy fats and what about vegetables and what about all these other good things? Well, you're going to get all that stuff, but you're going to get it at the other meals throughout your day. You're going to get it at breakfast and dinner and whatever, not in the post-workout meal.
Yeah, this is within the context, kind of setting it up, is you already eat really well. And the majority of your day, you're eating paleo-ish.
Lots of vegetables, lots of high-quality meats and fats.
Yeah, high protein, high fat.
Seeds, fruit.
Yeah, high protein, high fat, the vegetables, all that stuff. And then this is the opportunity to do like the denser carbs. So, Doug, can you explain the recovery side of things? Like we're talking about post-workout nutrition, but people are like, "Oh, I'm supposed to do this, but why?" Like, why are we doing carbohydrates and protein, and how does that work together?
Are you referring to the fancy science stuff that goes on, like in my cells and whatnot?
Yes, on a very physiological, maybe even cellular level.
Yeah, we'll talk about a little bit of that. So, in the window of Gainz, so if you
The window of Gainz.
this ridiculous term that we just made up, check out the hashtag window of Gainz for the
Window of
one picture that's on there.
Gainz. All your Gainz needs.
Basically, what that means is right after your workout's over, you have like 30 or 60 minutes. There's no actual like definitive cutoff point, but that's typically what people say just to get you to eat right away. And during that time, say I eat a meal post-workout, within that 30-minute window versus waiting 2 hours. If I eat it right away in that 30-minute window versus waiting 2 hours, I'm going to take more of those carbohydrates and actually store them in my muscles as glycogen, as opposed to later on where I'll store less of those carbohydrates as glycogen. If they didn't go to glycogen, that means they went somewhere else. The assumption in that case is that they got stored as body fat. So the same number of calories, the same number of carbohydrates eaten post-workout, you're going to use for good versus later on you're going to use for half good and half not so good.
So good is it's being stored in the muscles, glycogen. Mm-hmm. Not good is, all right, too much time's passed. Mm-hmm. And so, like,
you've missed the window of Gainz.
Your insulin sensitivity,
right?
Okay, the ability for your body basically to store those carbohydrates, the sensitivity to that has gone down. And so if you wait 2 hours or 4 hours or however long, and you're not doing it in the window of Gainz, then you're going to not have that sensitivity, and that a lesser percentage of the carbohydrates you eat are going to be going into your muscles, which is a good thing. And, a lesser percentage isn't a good thing. The fact that they're going into your muscles is a good thing. So if you wait, a lesser percentage are going to go into your muscles, and that's not a good thing. So you want to eat as soon as possible.
You don't have to immediately jump off your wad and slam the shake, but you have 5, 10, 15 minutes. That should be down.
The sooner the better. Like the easiest way to handle that is just to have, like what I do is I usually drink a protein shake with some carbohydrates. In my case, I just take pure dextrose, like not a proprietary blend. I just add straight up dextrose, which is glucose, just pure sugar, to my workout shake. That way, during my workout, I'm getting some protein and some carbohydrates during the workout. That way, by the time post-workout shows up, I already have all that flowing around in my system. It's already being digested. It's already in my bloodstream. It's already being fed to my muscles. That way, if I want to go home and make dinner and it takes me 90 minutes to get a meal, that's really meal number 2.
Yeah.
Like I'm just eating again. The post-workout, the during workout shake kind of makes up for the fact that I'm not going to be able to eat an actual meal right away when I get done training. That means I don't have to bring food with me to the gym, which is kind of nice.
But for the person who's doing WODs or crazy Metcons and they're not going to drink a shake during, just right after is cool.
Well, first of all, I'd encourage them to drink a shake during. And if you don't want to drink it during your Metcon, you don't necessarily have to. Some people don't really tolerate.
You're not drinking a milkshake during. Doug, what is in that shake exactly? Because it's a light, not very rich.
Well, here, let's finish this. So
then Steve's going to call you a pussy for stopping to go get your drink. Oh, yeah, trying to catch your breath, aren't you there, Tom?
So what you'd want to do in that case, is either drink your shake like right before, where you're not actually in the Metcon when you're drinking the shake. That way, during your warm-up, during your strength work, you're drinking your shake. And then by the time the Metcon comes, you already have something, again, kind of in your system. That way, during the Metcon, you don't have to take a break and go get a drink of your shake. Especially if it's a short Metcon. If it's 15 minutes, you don't need to stop and get a drink.
Unless you're me,
will survive.
I will have to refuel to stave off death 5 minutes into whatever I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah, I got 30 good reps in the tank, coach, and I got to refuel. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you always got to consider that if you eat something, it's going to take 30 to 90 minutes for it to really kind of start to get into your system. So if you drink a shake right before your workout, that means if you only have a 1 hour workout, it's really just getting into your system right about the time that you're finishing your workout. And so as a post-workout shake, that's pretty ideal, really. It's it doesn't have to take an extra 30 or 60 minutes to start digesting. It's already available for your muscles right then and there.
Yeah, so timing is even better.
Yeah, so for me, I don't really do a post-workout shake specifically. I drink a shake during my workout, and then I eat as soon as possible right after my workout.
How soon into it do you start drinking it? Is the whole time you lightly sip the same shake?
Yeah, right about the time I start warming up, I just start drinking my shake. And then by the time I'm about halfway done through my strength work, usually my shake's gone. And then that's kind of nice, too, because by the time I actually get to my post-workout meal, there's been an hour and a half in between where I didn't drink a shake, finish it, and then try to go eat a meal. There's been some time where I've gotten hungry and there's some room in my stomach.
That might really help the people who afterwards they really struggle with even getting a shakedown, even getting a light plate of food. Mm-hmm. Some people, the appetite is just not there.
Yeah, for me, I like doing the shake during the strength work, warm up, strength work, and then once for 5 minutes before a conditioning session, I just switch to water.
It gives your stomach a chance to clear.
I personally, I need to be feeling nice and light and clean. And then immediately after that, I drink a little more water, but then I switch back over to like a post-workout shake for sure.
Yeah, and actually, on that note, with mentioning water, I like to drink my workout shake, and then the rest of my workout, crush a bunch of water. That way, when I get to my post-workout meal, I'm not thirsty, and I don't have to drink a bunch of
a bunch of fluids,
a bunch of
fill you
water
up.
that don't have any calories. I
Right.
can just use all the room in my stomach for a massive meal where water's not getting in the way, so to speak.
So we want sugar. You know, dextrose is one form. There's different supplements out there that have some carbohydrate in them. But what I find is a lot of times they just don't have enough. So buying like a big tub of dextrose can be really helpful.
Yeah, go to Now Nutrition. You know, the big orange containers that you see like on
Those
Amazon.
things are clutch, man.
Yeah.
All their line, right?
Like a 10-pound thing of dextrose is like, I don't know, I don't even remember. It's $20 or something like
Right.
that. It's really cheap. It'll last you an incredibly long time.
It's actually cheaper on bodybuilding.com. Not plugging, just saying.
Okay.
We'll find the greatest deal, and we'll link it to you, folks.
But it's probably the best source of sugar that you could get. It's pure glucose. That's, as far as sugar goes, it's probably like the healthiest sugar you could be eating. It's not a
Slippery slope, Doug. Slippery slope.
Every other variation of sugar is not quite as good for you as glucose. Not saying it's like a healthy thing necessarily long term if you crush it all day long, but post workout, glucose is probably the best sugar that you're going to want to consume as a
And you can mix that with
during
anything.
workout shake sugar.
Does it depend? So for me, I vary the carbohydrates in my drink depending on the type of workout. If I'm just doing strength work, well, I guess we can
You mean the amount?
Yeah, yeah. So we can talk about ratios a little bit. So like if I'm doing like strength work, I'm looking at like sometimes like a 1-to-1 or a 2-to-1 ratio of carbs to protein because I'm not burning up a lot of glycogen. Like when I'm doing a lot of
How
strength
much
work.
do you know to put in there, like grams wise? You just put a scoop,
Oh yeah, I mean the scoopers have
like 30 grams or whatever.
I use a 40-gram scooper, and so like I can like just say okay, it's half full or third, 2/3 or whatever.
Like, you don't have to be extremely precise with these
I'm
measurements.
not weighing anything, but I do have a scooper that's 40 grams, and so I can kind of I do 40 grams of protein, and then I do another 40 grams of dextrose or something like that. But like if I'm doing just strength work and I'm keeping it under sets of 5 and the volume's relatively low, I do like a 1-to-1 to 2-to-1 ratio of carbs to protein. But the moment you start getting the longer endurance type workouts where you're working out for hours on end, that might shift a little bit on if it's more of a conditioning workout. If you start to do hero wads, you might want to add maybe a 3-to-1 ratio of carbs to protein.
2-to-1's probably still okay if you're average wad or where you just need some extra carbohydrate. You're doing more than squatting, but you're not doing anything too crazy. You're your average CrossFitter doing the workout of the day.
Yeah. So the amount of reps you're doing, that would be your volume, could dictate how much sugar is actually in your drink or carbohydrate. And then we didn't really cover what the protein does. So we're talking about like post-workout nutrition. It's all about recovery. It's about feeling good after you work out and then prepping for the next workout. Even if it's the next day or 2 days later, like the faster you recover, the better. And the more you recover, like the sooner we're talking about the window of Gainz, the sooner you take advantage of that, of your post-workout nutrition, the higher you're actually going to get in your recovery on both glycogen reuptake and then also with protein synthesis. You want to get into like what the protein is actually for during the workout and then after as well, because you're talking about sipping on protein during, and there's something that happens there too.
Sipping on that protein.
Sipping on the sip.
The two main things there, if you're having sugar and protein during your workout and or post-workout, they're similar, but I tend to want to gravitate towards a during workout shake and then a post-workout actual meal.
Yeah.
In that case, you're going to break down less protein. You're going to break down less muscle mass. You're going to get less sore.
Your muscles are made of protein.
Yeah, your muscles are made of protein. There you go. So you're going to break down less, and you're going to probably build more. So if this is baseline,
and by the way, we learned from Dr. Andy Galpin that you don't have to break down muscle to build it up.
Totally unnecessary.
So like
you don't have to.
So trying to minimize the breakdown is actually a really good thing.
Yeah, as an example, if you are here at baseline, you break down some muscle mass and you dig yourself into this big hole, it might take you 4 or 5 days to come out of that. If you have a good amount of protein and carbohydrates during your workout and right after your workout, then maybe you don't dig yourself into quite as deep of a hole, and maybe you're fully recovered a day early, which means you can go train again. And so the difference between taking 4 days to recover or 3 days to recover is a lot.
Especially if you
over
add it up.
over the course of your life.
Oh, God.
That's a lot.
There's a difference between you being an advanced, awesome athlete and still being at the bottom of the whiteboard. To add up all that cumulative better quality of work and better feeding over the course of just 1 year, your body looks completely different. Everything's different.
Over the course of a year, I'm not even going to attempt to run the math on that, but you're going to get dozens of more workouts. And so that's so many more opportunities to gain a little bit more strength. If you, in that example, if you put on an extra pound on your back squat every single workout, well, if that's dozens of workouts and each workout's worth a pound, well, that's an extra 30 pounds you put on your back squat simply because you recovered better, and this is a major factor into helping you do that.
That's a good thing.
Are you saying that the window of gains can lead to a lifetime of gains? As Usher and Little John once said,
well, the powerful part.
eat in the window. Eat it all. Till the sweat drops down your balls. Oh, eat.
That's the other thing we say is there's all the good scientific reasons why you'll feel better and recover better, but then there's just the habit of if you're thinking about how you can quickly give energy back into your body after working out, then that habit is what's really, really powerful. That stacks up. I mean, course of a year, you're going to be a lot different because of that.
Yeah, I like to think about workouts as practice. You ever heard You ever hear about like the 10,000 hours? When somebody accumulates that 10,000 hours, then they kind of master that task or something like that.
Yeah, you always said it with squats, right? The person who squats more than you has done more squatting than you. They just found a way to get the work done. Now your job is to find a way to get the work done. It's going to take some while to catch up to that.
Right.
The same thing as nutrition. Like, it's not that you had something magical today that you added to your protein shake. It's that for now a couple years, the habit and the ritual is you think a lot about how much calories you need and when you're going to do them and how to match that with the amount of effort you're putting out. So that's the thing that has a really good impact on your body. Well, transformational impact on your body.
Yeah. And I do. Go ahead, Doug. You were going to make a point.
I was going to touch on something that we brought up earlier when you were talking about ratios of carbs and proteins and how much to get and all that.
Right.
The easiest way I think for me to figure out how many carbohydrates, how many grams of protein someone needs, and then I'll convert it out of grams here in a minute, is for a strength athlete where you're getting that kind of 2-to-1 carbs to protein, which is I think is a good ratio for most strength athletes. About 20% of your own body weight. So if I'm a 200-pound guy, 20% of my body weight is 40. If I can get about 40 grams of protein, and then since it's 2-to-1, I could double that. So that would be 80 grams of carbohydrates. That's kind of the minimum for me as a strength athlete that I would want to get post-workout. So 40 grams of protein, 80 grams of carbohydrates. That's shy of 500 calories. That's probably the minimum.
Yeah.
You could certainly go beyond that. And if you're talking about protein powders and whatnot, depending on your scooper, you can just look at it. That's a scoop or two depending on the size of your scooper. You don't have to measure this in any fancy way. Just eyeball it and just take a big scoop and put it on there.
Plus 5 whatever grams is not going to make a big deal.
Yeah, the most important thing is that you did something. You ate something. That's the most important
you tried.
thing. The difference between
you were focused and you tried.
Yeah, the difference between nothing and a big pile is an enormous difference. Okay, you just want to make sure that you get a big pile of food in some capacity. That's really the big thing. Have I ever gotten exactly 40 grams? Probably not. It doesn't matter.
That's John Bro's way of saying it. If you tried, it was a plus. If you didn't fucking try at all, negative. Start again. Do better next time.
Yeah. So you don't have to hit those numbers exactly right. Just make sure that you're getting something post workout.
You find that most people underdo it. Once even after they listen to this episode, they're going to think, "Oh, I'm going to go do the window of gains," and then they still lowball it.
Certainly, if they're
people
trying
are
to gain weight,
scared of carbs.
Certainly, if they're trying to gain weight, it's more common to underdo it than to overdo it. Like, you should think, holy shit, I'm about to make myself so fat when you're trying to gain weight. Until you get the hang of it, once you've gained a bunch of weight a couple of times for whatever reason, and then you've maybe leaned back down, and then you've gained some weight again, and you're good at that, and you're kind of a professional at gaining and losing weight for whatever reason. Like I used to weightlift, and I would gain weight for weightlifting, and then I would fight MMA, and I would lose back down so I could have my fight, and then I would gain weight for weightlifting, and I would bounce back and forth all the time, and eventually you get good at making those adaptations. You don't have to eat so much food like you feel like you're going to get fat, because you know how much food it's going to take, and you know that you're not going to get fat. Likewise, you know how much food that you're going to have to not eat to lose weight without losing all your muscle mass. And eventually you'll get good at it. But initially, especially if you're trying to gain weight, you probably should feel like I'm eating too much food.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're eating too much, you're probably doing it right.
And that's a great way to guide it is if you feel that emotion, you're probably getting to where you haven't been. And because you are feeling uncomfortable, now you're getting something done.
Yeah,
right. You
me
should be outside
personally,
your comfort zone.
Yeah, you should be outside your comfort zone.
That means you're doing it right.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to maintain or if I'm not trying to
dancing.
put on
And you're
too much fluff, I adjust my my carbohydrates by like how much fat I'm putting. Like, first off, I've been doing it long enough. If I do a big, long conditioning session, I know I need more carbs. If I do a strength work, I need fewer carbs. And then I can kind of track the trend over time by I just look in the mirror. You could get fancy and do calipers or something like that, but I can go, oh, I'm not as lean as I was 2 weeks ago. I should probably cut the carbs back post-workout. Or if I'm starting to get too lean, and what I mean by that is like I start getting too lean and I can tell that my...
Tell us what it's like to be too lean.
If I start getting too damn lean, well, here's what I do for that problem. You're saying something important. Like,
well, what I'm saying is like there's a level when I start getting too lean, my performance goes down. And I know that. I know that, like, when I get to a certain point...
You probably stop having your period, too, don't you?
Well, your hormones do take a shit when you get too lean.
But you get
Strength athletes know
but
that.
you get too lean, like,
That's the Melissa Etheridge window of Gainz.
But now you know you're not... Now you just know you're not recovering enough, though. Like, if you start getting leaner, it's like, okay, my recovery's not as good, but I might be liking the way I look better. And so I think that's a good way to adjust the carbohydrates. So even if you're trying to be leaner, it's good to do the carbs afterwards, but you need to be tracking what happens. And if you're doing too many carbs, you might be getting fluffy, so you just need to keep backing it off.
You're asking people to do a thing that's actually really tough to do, and that is, my dad told me to do that one time. I asked him when I was a kid, like, do you think I should, like, do this? I was feeling fat, like 10 years old. He told me, just look in the mirror. You like what you see, you're okay. If you don't, well, and he left it hanging there. I go, oh. I felt that life lesson of if you don't like what you see in the mirror or if you see changes, good or bad, that's your first indicator. You got to get comfortable with looking at yourself. If you can't look at yourself, it seems like another problem that's going to displace these other worries you have in the gym. You have to be comfortable doing that first and paying attention to what's happening with your form.
That is quite a bit of a tangent, but I kind of want to talk about it.
I'm good at
another
tangents.
tangent. No, I mean, like, for all of our for Muscle Gain Challenge and then for our Barbell Shred and Barbell Bikini, we ask people to take photos of themselves. Like,
this is a big. I brought it up. It's a huge thing to do,
and it's not
barrier
for us. It's for the individual. Like, you got to be comfortable looking at yourself and then making a judgment, I guess. But like, you go, hey, am I going the right direction or not? And a lot of times people go, oh, I don't feel like I'm getting any better. It's like, do you have any objective data? It's like, well, no, I didn't collect any. Because I was embarrassed.
Because the way you feel is not that accurate. You know?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, if you need to take a photo before, photo after, you can do, body fat testing or something like that. But a lot of times people want to get leaner. If you're not measuring, and measuring can be just taking a picture, putting it up, and comparing it to last month or 6 months ago or something like that. If you're not doing that, then you have no idea what's going on. And the only reason we're tuned in, and it's easy for me to go, oh, I know if I'm getting leaner or not, is because I've been watching it for 18 years. I've been paying attention to what's going on as I eat different types of food, as I train differently.
I think it's just like when Doug said, if you feel like you're doing too much, that's a good sign that you've broken through a pattern and you're doing something new. And if you know the numbers and you know what you should be hitting, then you can be reassured you're in a good spot. If you pair that with, I'm not comfortable looking at myself and watching closely what's changing, but now I break that. Now I'm just in the routine of paying attention. I know what my weight is. I know how I'm looking. I can see that I'm slightly different, but in a good way. I can reassure myself that I'm right on track every day. You start doing all of this, now you got your shit nailed down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know all the data. You know what's going on. You will not be surprised by one day waking up being bigger, smaller, weaker, whatever than you thought you'd be. You're on your shit. This is what you should be doing. These are key habits.
I used to graph my weight in Excel, so I always knew if I was gaining or losing, especially when I was doing the bouncing back and forth between weightlifting, where I was competing either at 85 kilo or 94 kilo, depending on how far along I was in the process of gaining weight, and then losing weight back down to fight at 170. So that's a big swing from 94 kilos, which is 207, down to 170. I would go back and forth probably a couple times a year in some cases. But now what I do is on my iPhone, if you click on the health app,
and if you're on iTunes, you are not seeing.
You're not seeing this. You have a health app on your iTunes that comes with your iPhone. Just click on health data, body measurements, weight, and then add data point, and then just plug in your weight. It timestamps it, and then it automatically graphs it for you.
Oh, I didn't know it did that.
It couldn't be easier,
dude. Yeah,
I gotta add that.
I'm gonna use that for a week, and then I'm gonna fall out of the habit.
And then you can see, like, it'll graph it over the course of your week. Then you can click on month. Over the course of your month, over the course of your year, and it just tells you automatically like where your weight is going, and it does it for you. It's super easy.
I'll include that in the notes too, because that's a really handy tip. I'm sure there's something else that'll do it for you on Android or whatever.
I've evolved to the point where like I just go off of how much my wife wants me. That's how I adjust my nutrition.
You've gone through all this science and all these years of training
There's many
experience.
factors there.
Does my wife think I'm hot or not? Let me guess what the answer is. You, in your mind, you think it's always, oh yeah,
She's trying
she
to
wants
jump my
me.
bones all the time.
But I guess you're doing just fine. You're hyper lean enough, right? Is that what it is?
Right, yeah.
Speaking
job,
of graphs,
Michael.
though, I feel like your wow when he showed that was like way fucking overdone. Like he just showed you like the new Tesla or something.
It's because it's
Check it out.
think
You
about
can
it.
chart your weight on a fucking
Damn.
iPhone.
Whoa! Well, it's because it's dummy proof. If you can just type in, you can type in the
awesome.
code to get into the phone. You can track your body weight.
It's pretty automatic. Like it's not. You don't have to set anything up. I mean, I don't know.
Say wow again.
Whoa!
I don't have to do anything. Wow!
All right, with that, we're gonna take a break, and when we come back, yeah, we'll figure out how
There's gonna be
much
some awesome questions answered. I think.
how much Doug's.
Oh yeah, we
bones
got a
get
bunch of
jumped.
questions from Instagram.
fun.
We're going to answer at the end
We're
of the show.
actually going to answer questions. We tried to do this early, like back in episode 5 or something like that.
We're
and
getting around
every
to it.
time
We
we're
only
like,
needed
oh, we don't have
170
time for the questions.
It took us 173 pilot tries. Now we're getting to
177.
This is 178.
after episode 5.
Oh, yeah, I did reference 5.
Okay, we'll be back in a minute.
Oh, quick math.
That's a big ass dog. All right, welcome back to Technique Quad. Today we're going to talk about snatch balances and all the variations of snatch balances, heaving snatch balance, pressing snatch balance, and drop snatches. All right, Mike's going to be my demo guy today, so go ahead and show them a snatch balance just so everyone knows what the hell we're talking about. There you go, nice and casual. Go ahead and go to the side one time. All right, beautiful. All right, so more or less, if we come back normal, he's taking the bar from his back and he's giving a little bit of a dip and drive, and then he's landing in a full squat position, and then he's coming out of that in an overhead squat position. So obviously a prereq for snatch balances is being able to do a perfect overhead squat. So if we look at a perfect overhead squat, you can see Mike has his elbows all the way locked out, knees are out over the toes, heels are flat on the ground, posture is very upright. If he stands up and then turns to the side again, same thing. Elbows are all the way externally rotated as much as he can. He's trying to turn his elbow pits towards the sky. Nice neutral spine, hip below the knee. Again, heels are on the ground. That's a great position. Bar is right over the center of his foot, and then he comes out of it. Beautiful, okay? So, we're not gonna talk about overhead squats specifically in this video. We already have technique quads on the overhead squat, so go ahead and Google those and you can check out the overhead squat videos. For today, again, we're gonna go over snatch balances and all the variations. So, quickly, we're gonna run through all the different variations just so you can see what they all look like. The first one is just a regular snatch balance. So, Mike's gonna be standing with his feet shoulder width apart, hip width apart. Okay, basically in his pulling stance, wherever he would pull from on the snatch, his feet are going to be in the same spot. And then what he's going to do is he's going to dip and drive, and then you're going to see his feet hop out to whatever his squat stance is going to be. So dip and drive, feet hop out just a little bit. Mike squats very narrow compared to someone like me who squats a little bit wider on overhead squats, so his feet aren't going to hop out very far, but if you have longer limbs and you're more stable with a wider stance, you can hop your feet out a little bit wider. There you go. Go ahead and exaggerate it one time so they can really see the feet hop out.
Trying to.
Okay. There you go. So that's more like I would probably do it on a snatch balance. So that's a regular snatch balance. A heaving snatch balance, he actually starts with his feet in that squat stance, so a little bit wider than his pulling stance, and he's not going to move his feet at all. So he's going to dip and drive, and his feet aren't going to move at all. There you go. So his heels didn't come off the ground, he didn't hop, his feet didn't go anywhere, he just gave a little drive and sunk right down to the bottom. Okay, so that's a heaving snatch balance. And then obviously Mike's doing this nice and slow for demo purposes, but once there's weight on the bar, he's going to be giving it a strong drive and then getting under it as absolutely fast as possible.
Named after the great J.P. Herman Heaving.
That's right. All right, the next one is a pressing snatch balance. So on the pressing snatch balance, you can really see the technique of it, which we really haven't even dug into yet, where the height of the bar doesn't necessarily change. Mike is just going to push himself underneath the weight. And stand all the way up, goes back on his back, and then he repeats. Okay, so that is a pressing snatch balance. And then finally, the last one is a drop snatch. On this one, It's probably the hardest to do with an empty bar. He's not going to dip and drive at all. He's just going to basically fall under the weight and then push the bar up to drive himself down. There you go. And having a little bit of weight on the bar makes that even just that much easier because he actually has something to push against. Okay. So we're going to start with the easiest one, and we're going to go through the technique and then build to what would be the heavier weights, which would be a regular snatch bounce. You could probably do the heaviest weight out of all three of those. Okay. You resting?
I am.
Okay, the first one, a pressing snatch bounce. We're going to go over this one first because you can really see what's going on because the movement is a little bit slower. So on a pressing snatch bounce, there's no dip and drive quite yet. Again, bar height stays the exact same. He's just going to press himself under the weight, keeping good posture, staying nice and upright, knees going out over the toes, heels staying on the ground, and then he's going to stand up in a good position. There you go, easy enough. Okay, from there, probably the next easiest one, based on the amount of weight that you're likely to be able to do, is the drop snatch. So again, on this one, there's also no dip and drive, as I said before. He's just going to fall straight down and try and land in that perfect, stable bottom position. And basically, you're going to try and treat this like a gymnast would treat landing from a routine, where you fall down and you freeze and you stick the landing. There you go. Trying to land nice and stable at the bottom, and then once you get good at it, then of course you're going to try and ride the bounce and come out of the hole. There you go. Beautiful. All right, again, the next one is a heaving snatch bounce. So again, on this one, this is the one where you're going to dip and drive and not move your feet. So there you go. So that's nice and slow. Once this gets heavy, you're going to have obviously a bunch of plates rather at the end of the barbell, and it's going to be heavy at the ends. And so as you dip and drive, it'll kind of spring the weight, and you'll get a little bit of a bounce out of it, and it'll sling you under the weight very quickly. So give kind of a nice sharp dip, and like you would try to bounce the weight. There you go, beautiful. With a regular barbell, you really can't see it, but if you have weight on the bar, then it's going to get a nice whip effect, especially if you have a really nice weightlifting bar, like an Eleiko barbell. So yeah, if you have a good barbell that has a lot of spring to it, then it'll actually push you down extra fast, which is very cool. All right, so that's a heaving snatch bounce. And finally, kind of the main movement that we're working our way up to is a regular snatch bounce. And again, on this one, he's starting with his feet shoulder or hip width apart, in his pulling stance, and he's going to jump his feet out to his squat stance on his way down. There you go, beautiful. So for the regular snatch bounce, most people can snatch bounce at least as much as they can full snatch, or maybe even more, maybe up to 105, 110% of their full snatch. And in order to do that, you're not going to be able to throw the bar very high. You see when Mike does it, go and demo one more time, you can see when Mike does it with a regular snatch bounce, the bar, the bar's traveling up just a little bit. All right, maybe it's probably making it up to here. Yeah, so 4 or 5 inches over the height of his shoulders. As the bar gets heavier and heavier and heavier, the bar's not going to travel even that far, even though that's not that far. It's not going to travel even that far. It might get off his shoulders an inch or two, and then he's just going as fast as he possibly can into the bottom of that squat position, just in time to land his feet and catch the weight at the exact same time. All right, a few mistakes that are very common with snatch balances. Probably the first, aside from the regular overhead squat mistakes, which we've kind of already covered, the most common one that I see is that people that are brand new to snatch balances, they tend not to want to go all the way to the bottom of the squat, and they'll kind of stop halfway. So they'll kind of stop halfway like that. And a lot of times, especially once it gets heavy, when they stop halfway, they're not low enough to straighten their elbows all the way. So go ahead and land halfway with your elbows bent. They'll kind of stop like that, okay? And then usually it gets awkward because the bar's going to crash on their head and they don't know what to do. Kind of like that. So with those people, you probably need to regress them back to just an overhead squat and make sure that with the stance they're in, they can get all the way to that bottom position and still be in a good position. If they can't, then you need to make some adjustments to their overhead squat position to make sure that their feet are wide enough, or their toes are angled out enough, or they have the right mobility, or whatever. You got to figure out what the problem is. Once they can get into a perfect bottom position, then they can start working back towards that snatch bounce where they're actually at the very bottom in a good spot. So go ahead and do it one more time. So if someone comes to you and they get halfway down, just ask them if they can pause and just sink down to that position. If they can't sink with a barbell, then you probably need to make some type of an adjustment. Okay. Again, probably the most common one I see is that people are either too narrow with their feet, or in some cases people will hop and they'll be like this and they're too wide, and then of course they can't sit all the way to the bottom of a squat because their feet are just simply too wide to do it. So foot position matters a whole lot with getting into a good overhead squat position. Cool. Other points that I kind of glossed over initially that are more specific to just overhead squatting in general. Go ahead and go into a bottom of an overhead squat. If they land, and of course if their knees are diving in, if they're toed way too far out, toe way out like that.
Like that?
Yeah, if they land, their heels are coming in and their toes are way out. That can be a problem, especially if their knees aren't tracking over their toe. Mike's doing a good job keeping his knees out over his toe, but if their knees are in and toes are out, then of course that's pretty hard on your knee because you're twisting at the knee joint rather than simply bending, which is hard on your ACL in particular, and your medial meniscus, which is kind of the cartilage on the inside of your knee. From the side, you're going to dip very similar to how you dip on a jerk, where if Mike pauses at the bottom of his dip, he has a vertical torso and his knees go forward just a little bit. Okay, he's not going to do it like a back squat or like a powerlifting style back squat where his hips go back and he bends forward. Okay, it's going to be a very vertical dip. So if you see someone bending forward, ultimately once it gets heavy, that's really going to kill their power, and it's going to really eliminate getting that bounce out of the barbell that we discussed earlier. So you always want to dip with a vertical torso. There you go. Along with that, when you're dipping with that vertical torso, you're really driving through the middle of your foot. You're never going to be toe heavy. You're always going to be very heel heavy. So whenever someone dips and their heel comes off the ground, that's often because they just don't have good enough ankle mobility to do it. If their ankle blocks if their ankle blocks there, then their heel will automatically come up off the ground. So they'll either do that, or when they dip, their knees will dive towards each other. If I go ahead and show that. So if you have bad ankle mobility, you'll dip like that as opposed to dipping where your knees go out, where you're making that diamond pattern. There you go. So that's the bad way to do it. Go ahead and do it correctly. We push your knees out. So you can see Mike's making kind of a diamond pattern where it goes out to his knee and then back into his foot. You'll see that exaggerated with people that have a very narrow stance where they'll dip almost like that when they jerk or when they do snatch balances, or when they're doing pulls as well. If they're pulling like this for cleans and snatches. Good. What else do we say? Mike mentioned your focal point. So where you look off in the distance when you're doing a real snatch, you should be looking in the exact same spot when you're doing a snatch balance. So if you're a person that likes to look, 15 feet out in front of you, if you're a person that likes to look 15 feet out in front of you towards the ground, you should look in the same spot when you're doing snatch balances. If you're a person that looks all the way to the horizon, you should look all the way to the horizon when you're doing snatch balances. If when you're snatching, you tend to look up towards the corner of the room, then again, when you're doing snatch balances, you should look in the exact same spot. You want to make it as consistent as possible between doing an actual snatch and performing the snatch balance, because ultimately the reason you're doing snatch balances is so you can hopefully snatch more and more weight over time, because you're getting stronger, more stable, and really reinforcing that bottom position with heavy weight over your head. As far as when to put these into your training, what part of your workout you're gonna wanna do snatch balances, depends on a lot of factors. For me personally, and I'll let Mike comment on this as well, I tend to like to do lighter snatch balances between like 50 and 70% for people that really have trouble catching in the bottom of the snatch, kind of as a primer or a way to warm up for the snatch. That way when they start snatching, they've already been in that bottom position, very stable. It's easier to get into a bottom position to go straight down like this than to go from a snatch where you're all the way bent over and you kind of have to sling the weight and then end up in that position. Just to go straight down is easier, so it lets you practice from an easier setup into that bottom position before you jump into regular snatches where you're bent over and there's more to think about and it's just simply more complicated. For people that just need to get stronger, their mechanics are very good on snatches, their mechanics are good on snatch balances, they just simply want to be stronger in that very bottom position, just to make them a little more confident, maybe catching a 5-pound, 10-pound, 20-pound PR, especially people that, once it gets heavy, they tend to like go halfway and then they kind of give up when they probably could have gotten under the weight. You'll see them go and you'll be like, what happened? You stopped halfway. You got scared and you kind of backed out. For those people, if they don't feel confident with that extra heavy, plus 5 pounds, plus 10 pound PR weight over their head, then they're gonna bail out early in some cases. So for those people, after they get done with their snatch work, then I like to do snatch balances heavy with whatever they were finishing up their snatch workout with, plus an extra 5 pounds, an extra 10 pounds, maybe even extra 20 pounds. Some people can do, like I said before, 105%, 110%, maybe even up to 120%, 20% over their max snatch on snatch balances. They're strong enough to get in that position. And if you can snatch balance, 40 pounds, as an example, more than you can snatch, then snatching an extra 5 pounds isn't that intimidating because you've had that weight over your head many times and it's no big deal. You have any comments on that? I'm gonna give it to you.
I got one quick thing to say. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
No, just one quick thing. No, I just like heaving snatch balance a lot. It worked really well for me in the past. My lower body was definitely much stronger than my upper body in regard to that was probably what was limiting from improving my snatch, and heaving snatch balance really shored up that shoulder strength in that position. So I personally like heaving snatch balance a lot, and I don't think it's done enough. But
yeah. Nice. That being said, since Mike brought up the other variations, a pressing snatch balance is just straight up good assistance work. If you just want to have more reps overhead and you want to put on a little bit extra muscle mass, then you could do 4 sets of 8 of a pressing snatch balance under control, just to get some pressing overhead work that's a little more specific than just doing a standing press, as an example. The drop snatch is a very good variation, especially for newer lifters that just need reps but don't necessarily need a whole lot of weight over the head when they're doing it. They can just take the barbell and just get used to dropping into that bottom position, and they're just using it as a drill. Great for warm-ups, again, with just an empty barbell. If you want more information on how to improve your weightlifting, especially the snatches like we talked about today, but also clean and jerk as well, we put together a 50-page free ebook. If you go to flightweightlifting.com, that's FLIGHT weightlifting.com, that 50-page free book has links to the entire snatch video series that we did. Went over the overview of the snatch, the first pull, the transition, the second pull, the catch, and the recovery. So a very comprehensive video series is contained from the links within that book. And then we also have those for the clean and the jerk. Ton of value, absolutely free. So go to flightweightlifting.com to check that out. If you want more videos like this, then you can always go to barbellshrugged.com, click on the Technique Wad tab, and all the videos are in the library. Me and Mike, see you another day.
Oh, yeah. Gain train's coming.
Window of Gainz.
Gain train.
Get on board. Here's your ticket, friend.
And we're back. You know what? What were we going to talk about when we came back?
I don't know. You're the host.
Yeah, host it up. Host.
Oh, okay. So we have this new intern. We're not even going to say his name, but no, I'm just kidding.
That's rude. He brought the gear for us
It's
today.
Ryan.
This shit wouldn't even be happening without Ryan.
Or yeah, and
Ryan's a man. Look at him, dude. He got a spam sweatshirt and everything.
Yeah.
well, you can't give him too much attention. He's just an intern. So maybe by the end of the summer he'll earn all the respect.
We are respectful of your contribution, friend.
No, his big concern was budget. He is a college student, and we were all in college once and making attempts at eating healthy.
Oh, man.
My understanding of healthy now is way different than back then, that's for sure.
Yeah, his understanding of lots of things is different. Go
I
figure.
feel like all my meals used to look like post-workout meals. And the reason they did is because actually post-workout meals are probably the cheapest meal of your whole day.
Yeah,
like
I was thinking,
carbohydrates are so cheap.
if you're saying, man, listen, I got a lot of bills. I just can't afford that bag of generic white, mass-produced, almost free dextrose powder that
Commodity
Amazon
rice.
will have right on my front door like 2 hours from now. You can't. There's no real good excuse why you can't eat better after you work out.
Ground beef and potatoes. That's your meal.
Yeah, I can't afford rice.
That's as cheap as it
The
gets.
thing they throw out of helicopters over Somalia. You can't afford that. You can go to Dartmouth. You can't afford rice and fucking dextrose and a good protein powder. Get the fuck out of here. You have two. You have one iPhone for work, one for all your personal porn usage when you're shitting in the morning. You got money for some dextrose powder, homie.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to say.
the now dextrose powder is really cheap.
It's
If you're
cheap.
thinking about supplements for protein powders, I think there is a difference in quality from one whey protein to another.
That I'll say for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely think that now.
Carbohydrates across the board are super cheap.
Yeah.
Like rice, potatoes, oatmeal, whatever. Protein
Right.
is the focus.
Protein is where it's going to get, probably a little more expensive, and there's different costs for that protein.
If you get cheap, you're gonna walk around with bubble guts and farts all day. If you get some
Yeah.
cheap whey protein with a bunch of artificial sweeteners in it, that could be bad. If you get like a weird inflammation in your throat after drinking your protein shake, some
Right.
quality issue is way off. Probably your protein.
When you drink your whey protein, be paying attention to how it makes you feel, because there is some variance there. When we were younger, I think we all took the cheaper stuff, and I don't think it really bothered us. As I got
I
older,
just
it
bought
did.
my whey protein at Costco. The biggest bag I could find.
I got a big
Probably
thing of,
wasn't the best, but it got me by.
Still, that's the go-to spot. You can get big bags of isolate, which I think is still the fanciest whey protein. Is there a better one than that, really? That's just generic. It's got a little artificial sweetener in it, but it's good quality, and it's got just limited amount of ingredients and no crazy flavor additives. It's like $50 for a giant tub of it. I mean, it's like 100 steaks in there, you know.
Don't come into my high school with your Costco protein. They'll be like, little Costco protein having ass.
Yeah, so,
CTP grew up in
so-
Memphis.
And you go, hey, listen, asshole, you don't have 2 kids to feed and this protein gain train to get on, okay? There's only so much shit I can afford. I'm going isolate from Costco.
the carbs are really cheap. The protein is where you can kind of have some variance. If you can afford the more expensive stuff,
What kind of
it's
protein
usually a
you
good
using
idea.
lately, Mike?
3 Fuel is actually my favorite right now. So,
What was your favorite?
I wasn't taking a protein for like a year. Like every whey protein I was taking was upsetting my stomach in some way, the digestion. So I kind of came off of that, and I do a lot of BCAAs. That's actually one thing I want to talk about. Was like Doug's routine is different than my routine, which is probably different than Chris's routine and the shakes that we drink during and after workouts. But what I was doing is I just drink BCAAs. I was doing high doses of BCAAs during my workout, and then afterwards,
What's a high dose?
25 to 30 grams. So if you get
Yeah, it's a lot.
if you get BCAAs, they
That's
say
not one scoop.
no, that's 3 to 4 scoops. So depending,
That
most
probably tastes like
BCAAs
shit when you drink that too, dude.
Moneybags McGee over here.
That's gotta taste gross.
A dose would be like 7 grams normally, and so what I do is I take 3 to 4 scoops, so 3 to 4 doses of the BCAAs during my training session. I throw a lot of other stuff in there like creatine, beta-alanine, all that kind of stuff.
Go-to commodities of
Yeah, so I like to
performance.
do the BCAAs. Like I start sipping on it before I work out. The BCAAs are huge in a couple things, which is reduce muscle breakdown and then also kickstart building new muscle right after training. So I actually still do the BCAAs while I'm training, and as soon as I'm done, I crush a 3 Fuel. And I like that just because of the protein. It treats me really well, and it also has some carbohydrates and then some fast-burning fats in it as well, the MCTs.
Does it tickle your scrote? I mean, it treats you really well.
So what?
It makes me feel so good.
Treats you really well.
It's a scrote tickling shake.
Yeah, it honestly, like, it gets in, it digests pretty fast, it doesn't keep me full very long, and it doesn't, send me to the bathroom with the runs a half hour later.
Yeah, so long
Like
story
some
short,
proteins
All
do.
pluses.
long story short, BCAAs they're kind of just the most important part of a protein drink. All right, if your protein is made out of 20 different components, it's like the top 3.
Right.
And so a normal scoop of protein, if it's 20 grams, about 4 or 5 grams of that is usually BCAAs. So in your case, if you're having 25 grams of BCAAs, it's kind of like taking 100 grams of protein.
Yeah.
So it's without actually having to take 5
100
or
grams of
6
protein, yeah.
scoops of powder that fills up
That would
half your
destroy
container.
my stomach.
Yeah, you will
Yeah.
shit yourself after that.
Yeah, so the BCA is just a really great way. It's a shortcut or whatever you want to call it. I don't know, but
Does it replace your need for other proteins? I'll beg the question because I know it doesn't. but-
It doesn't. No, what it does is it blunts catabolism, the breakdown of muscle, and it kind of kicks off the anabolic state. So if you're doing that and then you throw like a whey protein, which has a lot of other amino acids in it, if you throw that in and it's got a complete set of amino acids, so it's everything you need really. You throw that on right afterwards, that's when I feel I recovered the best. But I'm talking like like if I'm training hard, if I have a 2.5 hour training session where like when I was competing at my best, it was 30 grams of BCAAs. I'd say 10 to 15 grams of BCAAs per hour of training seems to be best for me. But BCAAs, if you get them unflavored, taste like total shit.
You gotta be careful.
You can't even. I can't get it down. So I do end up getting the BCAAs with some artificial flavors, and that's kind of where I'm making a what's it called?
Exception.
Well, exception would be a good word. Compromise.
Yeah.
Not good at that compromise thing. I can't even remember the word ever.
I like what you're getting at. It seems like you want to use BBCs for what they're best used for.
BBCs?
The BBC.
What did I say?
BBC.
The branch chains. Like they don't replace
BCAAs.
protein. They are a better way to get that early jump in that one window. Then you go back to just eating. Like I said, it might be great, but it's still in your hand a scoop of white powder. It's still not steak with potatoes.
So would
it's
you
all
do
about the timing?
Would you do a BCAA drink and then still have a whey protein drink? Or is that just getting crazy?
I think it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
Just one drink is fine, then go back to eating regular food.
Yeah, you've covered your bases there.
I know people who take BCAAs throughout the day. There's actually some data to suggest that's not a good idea for like mental clarity because the enzymes necessary for breaking those different things down and using them competes with stuff that happens in your brain. So if you're somebody who's like, oh, BCAAs are good, I should take them all the time. Well, probably not. This is
I'll just
all
skip
about
steaks.
This is
I got
all
everything
about,
I need right here.
This is all about timing. All right. So BCAAs are great like right before, during, and then like a good whey protein is good after. That's how I see it.
Do not use these to replace. This is not a quick protein source in the morning to replace a breakfast. That's
No,
proper.
absolutely not.
So if we're gonna skip off of talking about like protein supplements for the moment, as far as real food goes, what's the cheapest meats that are still decent quality that a person could go to? Like I mentioned ground beef. You get grass-fed ground beef.
You can actually get
pretty
really good
cheap.
quality ground beef now at Costco and stuff. They like 4 or 5 of the things together for $21, $22. It's a pretty good price for high
Buy it
quality.
in bulk and freeze it.
Yeah, I used to do ground turkey and stuff too, but I got that again the quality issue. I would rather just pay a few extra bucks to not have everything they're dousing that poultry with.
Eggs are cheap.
Eggs, yeah.
Eggs are very cheap.
It's
Fucking milk, man. Just get
It is interesting.
Not cheap milk.
People think about chicken as cheaper, but if you get like high quality chicken versus high quality beef, the high quality beef
the
is
meat, you
actually
mean.
cheaper.
The meat, like if you get like a pasture, sourced free roaming chicken that's half the size and 3 times the price. Yeah, that's a little expensive. But eggs and milk are always the go-tos, right?
Yeah, I'm actually real big on the dairy for if you're wanting for the purpose of gaining weight.
Now you want to. This is a perfect time for you to talk about your return to goat life now.
Oh yeah, I've been off the goat life for about a year now.
You got your groin healed up.
I was bouncing around. I was traveling. Raw goat milk is not easy to come by because it's illegal in different ways in different states.
It's probably been over a year since you had a live goat squirt milk right in your
Yeah,
mouth.
you sucked.
It's been
you
about
sucked
a
a goat
year.
tit.
It's been about a year since
Chris,
that
you're gonna have to link that episode.
epic moment.
yeah.
Oh, that was the best tasting milk I ever had in my life.
Slow motion. Yeah.
We're going back there soon. Back to Vermont.
We
Toward the
are.
farm.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
What are
It's
the
gonna be
benefits?
way better
Farmer
this
Joe.
time.
Farmer Joe.
What are the benefits of dairy? Specifically, in this case, I'm wanting to get big. So why would I drink a pint of raw goat milk after I train? Mike?
Yeah, it's really high quality protein. It's the same type of protein you're going to find in whey protein. It does come with some carbohydrate, and it comes with some fat. And if you're getting a grass-fed, raw deal, the fat in there is actually really good for you.
And growth factors and whatnot in the milk
And
too,
then,
right?
and then, yeah, that's the other thing.
It basically comes with steroids in it. I mean,
Right. yeah.
Honestly,
Well, here's the thing: is milk is specifically designed for making small things bigger.
specifically mammals, which we all are. So great, convenient
So there
for us.
are some growth factors. There's some things in there that happen hormonally that I don't fully understand. I'm not going to try to explain something I've read about a few times, and
It doesn't stop you from every other time you've done that.
I don't know what
I
you're
read
talking
this in a
about,
book
Chris.
once. Hold on, bear with me.
I'm an expert.
Yeah, a lot of people say milk is the most complicated food on the planet. There's hundreds and hundreds of things in milk, and
Well,
we probably haven't even discovered all of
I
them.
I've
keep on
never seen a
finding-
Durkin then.
I keep on finding like
or what's
new
that thing
things.
that you brought to a birthday party once? That was fucking super weird.
I don't know.
It's like a Durkin. It's a weird fruit.
Durian.
Oh,
durian.
durian.
Oh,
Durian.
fuck that thing. That thing-
Durians are awesome.
That thing gave me the creeps for weeks.
Durians are illegal in some countries because they taste so bad and they smell so bad.
Like rotting
Oh.
flesh.
so
It's like a rotten
go
flesh
to
custard.
an international food store and find a
So-
durian
so
and
Doug
go
was
eat
like,
it.
"Yeah, I'll feed it to my friends."
Don't smell it, just eat
it's
it.
a good gag
But
gift.
with the raw dairy, and this is where people get confused, like, "Oh, is organic dairy enough?" No, raw If it's not raw, you're wrong. Okay.
I mean, if you get nothing, organic's better than going regular milk, but it's not the same as raw.
The problem, the thing about raw is, and here's some other things that are beneficial. Is it's got probiotics, got a lot of bacteria. It's got the enzymes necessary for breaking down the protein that you're actually taking in, the sugar that's included in the milk. Like, you need the raw version of the milk in order to digest the milk that you're consuming. And so there's a lot of gut health things that go along with the raw milk. So if you're there's really no way around it. You're like, oh, it's okay if I don't do the raw thing. It's like, in my opinion, you're missing out on the majority of the benefits. If you're going with pasture,
we say if you
pasteurized.
struggle with milk, you should try getting a raw version before you make a final determination whether dairy is for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially if you're an athlete, because it could be a really relatively cheap, really hugely beneficial thing for you to try.
Yeah.
If you can get your hands on it.
Yeah, I feel like just my overall recovery from workout to workout is better if I have raw milk on my
How crazy is
in
it?
my
You could
hands.
definitely
Yeah.
have much easier time in this country getting any drug you want than getting your hands on fucking high quality raw milk. The fines are in some cases more steep.
Yeah.
You're fucking moving across state lines, a quart of delicious milk.
Oh yeah, they'll come in guns
What
a-blazing.
you got there, son? So you're drinking milk, huh? Well, step out of the car. That's America. It's some fucking states.
That's a felony. If you cross state lines
Did
with
you boil that milk, son?
if you cross state lines with raw milk, it's a
Fucking
felony.
go to jail. Pound me in the ass jail, too.
Are you questioning? You questioning our government?
Yeah.
Not on my show. USA.
Saying as somebody who pays their taxes, I'm American like anybody. If I have a grievance, I'm going to ramble about it. fucking the milk, man. Come on, man. Just go back to doing something else that's crazy and evil. At least give us some fucking milk.
Crazy and evil.
So what about regular milk? If you can't get any of that shit,
It depends on
If you can digest, I think it's
I
fine.
like that grass milk. Like
Grass milk?
The company, the brand is called Grass Milk.
Oh, I'm not familiar.
Grass-fed whole milk.
yeah.
You go buy it at Whole Foods or any kind of natural food store. I don't think you'll find it at the regular grocery store.
grass
but
milk paying you now, Doug.
Sponsored by Grass Milk.
That'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
and
I wish.
the difference between
If
like
you're the CEO of Grass Milk, reach out to me.
a grass like a grass-fed animal versus like a corn-fed animal producing milk, and that's where some of the danger comes in. Like, actually, let's not get too far down that rabbit hole.
Let's get off of milk. No one cares about milk anymore.
Think
Well,
of
so-
different kinds of
so-
humans you could drink milk from, and think of the body type you prefer.
How many humans do you want to drink their milk?
There's a couple.
All right, what else we got? We're too far on the milk.
You mentioned Costco earlier. We used to buy at Costco like the giant pork tenderloins. Just
Oh,
like
yeah.
they're
yeah.
enormous. They're like this big around and they're like this long. And if you add it all up, it's like $1.50 a pound. It's like the cheapest meat you could possibly get.
I do want to add this in at this point is if you can afford good food, buy the high-quality stuff. Like, make cuts.
It matters a lot.
Make more money.
Cancel your cable.
Yeah.
Cancel your cable. Figure out how to make a few more bucks.
Listen to Barbell Business.
Make
We'll teach you.
make cuts somewhere else. Like, even when I think my wife and I were our collective income was probably under $35,000 a year, and we were spending about $1,200 a month on groceries. And like
'Cause that's what's keeping you alive.
we were spending more on our groceries than we were on our rent. And
Yeah.
and I would tell people that, and they were like, "You guys are insane." It's like, well, how serious do you want to take this? Like, how far do you want to take it? So I would recommend really trying to make the best decisions possible. If the money's not really there, then I say, okay, the Costco meat is a great way to go. And I think Costco does carry like grass-fed now and stuff like
Costco's
that.
actually really high quality.
They've gotten better.
I mean, of your options,
They've gotten a lot better.
Of
Yeah.
all your options for general grocers and bulk, it's
Yeah.
definitely
The
light years
demand
away.
is up there.
You can get also other organic. You can get like raw coconut fat there. You can get high quality nuts. You can get free range chicken and good quality eggs and milk.
the
It's
other
good
thing,
stuff.
Lifetime supply of tater tots
The
for
other
your
thing
gains.
too is if you go to a farmer's market, you're more likely to get a really great deal. But people feel like they're trapped in having to go to the grocery store. It's like, just go to the farmer's market.
It's
You will-
cheaper.
especially with vegetables. You will spend way less on vegetables than any grocery
But
store.
I will say
at the farmer's
Costco's
market.
got those big bags of the crispier vegetables you can get. They're salty too. You ever had those like crispy green bean chips? Fuck man, they're so good.
They are good.
Oh,
Dried
geez.
veggies.
In my mind, I'm
Veggie
going.
chips.
In my mind, I'm going. These aren't vegetables, Chris. But I sure can believe right now they are. This
All
comes
right,
conscious claim.
should we get to some Instagram questions?
What if you're not hungry? That's a question.
What if you're not hungry? You should smoke a bowl. then try to not eat.
Also, a big bowl after a heavy squat session will help you recover real quick.
The statements made by Mike Butler are not endorsed by.
It'll also help your nervous system
liquid meals are
downregulate.
another good one. We talked about workout shakes and milk. Those are easy calories because you don't actually have to chew them and swallow them and eat them. Like you can just you
Pour them down
can
your
just
face.
drink them, and it's so much easier. So you could always run down the smoothie train, like just take a blender and just dump in everything you can think of, put a bunch of spinach and blueberries and almonds and like a can of coconut milk, which is like 800 calories in and of itself.
Yeah.
We used to do it before we went to bed when we were like seriously trying to gain weight, and that's an easy way to add like an extra 1,000 calories to your diet that if you were to add 1,000 calories another way, just it would be so much harder to put down. So big smoothies, we used to call them blender bombs. Just do a blender bomb, and that's a way easier way to get 1,000 calories than to actually eat 1,000 calories.
I found 2 ways to actually increase my appetite that is legal in all 50 states. And that is to train earlier in the day. So if I train in the morning, I find that my appetite the rest of the day is just higher. And the other thing is eat more carbs post-workout. So like eat more, like carbs are usually easier to get down anyway, but if you do more carbs in a shake, I find that like the higher the carb it is, the more it's like my body's tuned in to consuming more calories the rest of the day, period.
Yeah, and also making your food taste better goes a long way if you're trying to eat a lot of food. Like add some butter to your veggies and add butter to everything. Like put it on your meat, put it on your carbohydrates, your rice, your veggies. Like
Spices.
The only thing butter doesn't go on is fruit. That's about it.
Do you think people?
I don't know, Doug.
I can do it though because I love butter.
People going like a bodybuilder's mentality where like they imagine if I'm going to be serious about working out, I've got to eat just a little thing of like measured bland chicken breast and like no man, like hot sauce and shit, good seasonings.
Hot sauce. Yeah, put salt. Like salt's not going to kill you, especially if you're lean. You train all the time. Like you
most
sweat all
people
the
need to
time.
eat a
Like
lot more
put some
salt than they
salt.
do.
You'll eat more food if you have salt on it. If it's bland, you're not going to eat as much food.
Most people don't get enough salt.
In a lot of cases, the athletes don't.
Like I said, any animal in the wild would do just about anything for a lick of salt. You should put more in your food, probably.
Yeah, cheese goes a long way. Cheese makes everything taste better. You put cheese on ice cream and it'd be better.
Yeah.
I gotta try.
All right, y'all
that.
want to go to
Whoa.
Instagram for some questions?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, so we're on Instagram at Barbell Shrugged Podcast.
We haven't heard these,
so
we don't know.
We got
No.
we
But
got
we can't edit out any.
yeah.
Most of
So
the bombs.
at Indiana Todd wants to know,
Indiana
can
Todd.
he eat too much protein? Can you overdo it on the protein, Doug?
You probably could. You could overdo anything, but it's super unlikely in most cases. So I would say don't worry about overdoing it. You're probably not going to. But you shouldn't only be eating protein. If you're overdoing it on protein, that means that you are radically underdoing it on a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
So if you're sticking with the model of most meals, about a third of your plate should be some type of meat or protein, and then your post-workout meal, you bump that up to like half your plate, then there's no way you're going to overdo it on protein.
You're drawing like a sandbox around what you're going to do, so you should be all right.
And people who say, "Hey, is protein hard on your kidneys or whatever?" It's usually
That was an old myth if you have never heard that.
right. That's pretty commonly referenced, and there's a lot of basically the only people that need to worry about that are people who have kidney disease. If you don't have kidney disease, guess what? You're going to process protein just fine.
The more harmful thing is
yeah.
you walk around as skinny as you are. That's way more harmful for your
And
life.
I find that like if I consume more protein, I get leaner because if I'm trying to maximize my protein, what's happening is I'm reducing probably the amount of carbohydrates and fat in my diet, and I end up just getting lean. And I go, oh, I need to bump my protein down and up something else.
Indiana Todd, you got your answer, homie.
Boom. All right. So CrossFit Coach at CrossFit Coach wants to know. Come on, CrossFit Coach. He called the window of Gainz the anabolic window.
Oh, get that
That's
shit
so old
It's
school.
totally, it's
That's
totally
so
different.
outdated.
It's
Outdated.
Totally
not
different.
the same thing at all.
Outdated lingo, CrossFit Coach. He says, so I'll fix it for him. So window of gains versus daily quantity. What do y'all guys think?
Well, I think time is more important than just how much you're getting overall. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, overall calories throughout the day does matter. How much protein, carbs, and fat you're getting overall throughout the whole day is important, but it's hard to say.
Just eat 4 or 5 meals in your day. That meal should be the biggest one.
I'd say if the amount of
That's probably the easiest way to go
if the
about
amount
that.
of calories is going to be at all limited, then timing gets more and more important as the nutrition goes down, or the amount of calories goes down.
I'll say this:
It's
is
at least a third or a fourth of your calories for the whole day.
if you want to maximize your window
Probably
of
half
gains,
your carbohydrates.
if you want to maximize the window of gains, then you should be eating as healthy as possible all the time. if you're eating a lot of carbs throughout the day, the window of gains just isn't the same.
You're not even looking for the window gains. You need to fucking look for a treadmill loss. If that's the case, I guess.
All right. So, I like this one. 69 Stang Man.
What's up, dude?
I like the Stang.
He says, this is a good one. How intense should your workout be to eat post-workout carbs? So what kind of training is necessary? I mean, if I just go on a light jog, should I be crushing post-workout?
Yeah, and if you rolled around
window
your
of Gainz
foam roller
meals
for a few minutes, I guess you don't need 500 grams of carbohydrates after. There should be a line to draw.
He brings up a good point. So yeah, if you just warm up, you do some mobility work and some light cardio, it's more of an active recovery day. You probably don't even need like a real post-workout shake or meal. You just go back to eating a regular meal. You should still eat right away, but just eat a regular meal. You're probably fine. If you're doing a lot of volume for your bigger muscle groups, like if you did like a Metcon where the volume was high and it was total body, you were doing pull-ups and heavy squats and like heavy lunges and you were doing push presses or something like that, like where you're kind of working all the muscle groups that you have in your whole body, and you're going to be sore in your arms, your chest, your back, your legs, like you're kind of sore everywhere the next day, or you potentially could be, then that's the day that you can just like go off the rails and just crush as much as possible. So generally the more muscle mass you work and generally the sore you feel like you're going to be, then the more carbohydrates you can eat afterward.
Yeah, and just for everybody out there, CrossFit, the typical CrossFit Metcon is highly glycolytic, which means you're burning a lot of glycogen, which means you need to replace that with carbohydrates. So when we're talking about conditioning or this or that, like CrossFit Metcons, out of everything, probably need more carbs afterwards than anything else.
Right on.
With the exception of a Friday night dance party in this room, because we break it down. Because we're doing it right, we dance so much. One more Daft Punk reference.
Whew, all right. So I'm going to sum up this one a little bit. Amber Cat 831.
Mm-hmm.
I'm to assume there was 830 other Amber Cats.
Sounds like a lot of hot Amber Cats out there.
She wants to know. She had a big question, but she's pretty much asking if she goes and after a workout eats a meal.
Mm-hmm.
Do y'all think she should also have the shake, or is just eating regular food? Is that cool?
It depends on how much gains you want.
How much gains you
Let
want?
me ask her. Amber Cat.
Amber Cat, how much did you want to gain?
So again, this is all in the context of the rest of your day and what your particular goal is. So if you're a person that is aggressively trying to put on muscle mass,
She's just trying to look good, is what she said.
you already asked her?
No, no. It was in her description.
Okay.
She's not really trying to get bigger.
Amber
She's just
Cat.
Okay,
I'm not
well-
like
working
those
out to
other-
look good.
I'm not like those other Amber Cats, and I
So-
want to look good. It's all in the handle.
So everyone's trying to look good. So some people are trying to look good by losing weight, and some people are trying to look good by gaining weight. I'm going to assume for the moment, I'm going to like overly stereotype her and assume she's trying to lose a few pounds.
That's what it sounds like.
So in this case, only having one higher carb meal is probably all she needs. So if you're going to do the workout shake, then you probably, for your post-workout meal, you can still go eat right away, because again, the sooner you eat after your workout, the better you're going to use the calories that you do eat. So you still want to eat right away, but if you have the workout shake and that's already a high carb meal, we'll call it for the moment, then your post-workout meal where you're actually eating real food probably should just be a regular paleo-style meal where it's protein, healthy fats, vegetables, and you don't actually have to have another high carb meal.
That sounds like
If you're
very,
trying to gain
very
weight-
reasonable advice right there, Doug. I mean, if I'm her, I'm like, you know what? This is gonna make for a better Amber Cat. This advice.
Okay, all right. Let's see. Paul Lifts 1087 says, "Awesome show." Well, thanks, Paul.
Thanks, dude.
You're so correct.
He hasn't even seen it yet.
R2D Tune says, "Kill Cliff or Fit Aid, protein shake or post workout meal. Which one do you do?"
We do have a Fit Aid just sitting on the table, so
I guess there's your answer to that one.
The Fit Aid for me is actually a pre-surf beverage. So pretty much.
Well, I hope that answers your question.
I mean, for the most part, I stick with dextrose for my workout shakes, and then again going back to real food. I generally don't do like pre-made anything. I pretty much make all my own workout shakes. Whey protein, a little bit of dextrose. We haven't talked about creatine and beta-alanine, but I put those in my shakes pretty often. So that's kind of the mix for me. I generally make my own stuff.
Yeah, I like the Fit Aid for pre-workout. Really, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like before I go train, sip it down. And then when I go surfing, I drink like half a can, and then when I come back. So if I'm doing like cardio stuff, it's like I'm more likely to desire that. If I'm doing a lot of strength training, I do super high doses of stuff, which is not going to come in that can.
Yeah, sounds weird, but I do drink a Party-Aid every once in a while during my training.
Don't tell anybody what they're for, though.
If I'm at my house and I have a ton in the refrigerator that's in my garage, so I'll drink my workout shake, and if I'm still thirsty, and I feel like I need more calories, then I always drink a Party-Aid. I never really plan it; it just kind of happens.
It's like, hey, I'm supplementing my lifestyle right now.
Doug's like, that's
party
how
animal.
you know you haven't been partying enough. It's like you just want to drink the drink. You're like, oh fuck.
The
Maybe
advanced
if I
move-
drink
I didn't
this
even earn
Party-Aid.
this. I didn't even earn this drink. But
Party
I'm
is
doing
my
it.
Party is my. Funny enough, it's like Party-Aid and Golf-Aid are my favorite fit aid.
Oh, Golf-Aid
drinks.
is so good.
Golf-Aid's the best one. I'm not.
All right,
I'm
this is
not
turning
a golfer.
into a Golf-Aid pit. All right.
next Friday.
It's
question.
because Aaron always
I
gives
will
me
say-
Golf-Aid at regionals.
I will say I do like a good margarita during training. Some naturally occurring sugars in there, fresh grapefruit juice. You only do 2 shots of tequila in that one. You taper it down for the workout. Then you can do a proper margarita after the training.
What's a proper margarita?
Three tall shots of tequila.
Okay.
If you're 21. All right.
Maybe 21.
So
or less or older.
Yeah.
Oh, we just got a live question pop in that is, I can't even read it. It's so good. So I'm going to skip that, but go to our Instagram and see what Shoe Pack Shoe Care the maker put. It's really good.
How long does it take you to log in to Instagram with that handle? Jesus.
Yeah, seriously. I hope he doesn't have 2 accounts like I do.
Oh, good.
All right, let's see. All right, last one. What's Spud to Spartan says?
He likes potatoes.
That's good. What's the difference? Oh, speaking of
Is it stud or
speaking of-
spud?
Spud.
All right.
Speaking of potatoes, the question is, what's the difference between a starch and a carb? Is there one?
Starches are a type of carbohydrate. So generally, carbs come from plants, and if you're getting a denser form of carbohydrates, oftentimes it's going to be a starch. So like rice, potatoes, quinoa, oatmeal, like those tend to be the dense starches, and then usually sugars, which are also a type of carb. We tend to refer to sugars as coming from fruits if we're looking for natural foods. Those aren't 100% correct in every case, but starch, type of carbohydrate, potatoes, rice, those are starches.
If you were
All
gonna
starches are carbs, but not all carbs are starches.
Am I right?
last question, most important question. Let's
Okay.
end it on this note.
Sure.
Watch out, Chris.
Okay, go for the question.
Get out of the way.
What if you miss the, say it on 3, 2, 1.
Window
of Gainz.
Well, you're fucked.
It's over.
You're
All right,
fucked. It's over.
We'll see you guys later.
Have fun benching
We're
95
really ranting
pounds the
on
rest
that?
of your
yeah.
life.
Yeah. Make sure to go to barbellshrug.com, sign up for the newsletter.
Get that new muscle gain guide.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If
Jump
you
on
are
it.
interested in getting
Jump
bigger
on
and
it.
stronger and better at the Olympic lifts, then you should probably go there. Click that button.
It's free. It's
a
awesome.
Download
free
that ebook for free.
on muscle.barbellshrug.com.
muscle.barbellshrug.com /nothing. That's all you need. Grab yourself a free book.
I'm deep in a groove right now. See you later. Join the conversation every week after the episode over at barbellshrug.com. This is also where you'll find new episodes of Barbell Shrugged, Technique Wad, Nuggets and Pearls, Barbell Business, Get Change, plus new articles every day on our daily blog, written by us, guests of the show, and some of the biggest names in strength and conditioning. So, go there and leave a comment now.
Oh my gosh, wow, that's so cool. Yay, that's so awesome.
Did you like this video? If so, subscribe to our channel and share this with your friends.
And if you want even more free, awesome resources to help you reach your fitness goals, plus some updates that we only share over email, head over to barbellshrug.com and sign up for the newsletter.